Hey, thanks for attending my webinar today. I have a ton of great information to share, and it's just for people building wealth in real estate, which is hands down the #1 way to claim your financial freedom over time in a planned, safe, and secure manner. Sounds good? Great. Because I'm a longtime real estate investor and asset protection attorney. Like many of you, I chose real estate investing because it's safer and more reliable than the alternatives, especially the stock market, which can crash at any time. What I love about real estate is that it's more or less foolproof. You make your money on the front end, making sure your properties cash flow correctly. The value of the property can go up and down, but you're covering your mortgage with the cash flow. What could be a better investment, right? Unfortunately, it's not quite that simple. You see, real estate can have its own sort of crash, and it's called a lawsuit. Many investors are shocked to discover that insurance only offers partial protection and only from accidents. I'll explain why in a second, but the good news is you can get fully protected today and never have to worry about a lawsuit ever again. Seriously, you can make yourself litigation proof, just like the rich have been doing for years, and the secret is that wealthy people don't own things. They control companies that own things. So why do we have to jump through all these extra hoops, you ask? Who is out there to get us? It's those pesky plaintiffs' attorneys filing frivolous claims. You've seen them all over TV, radio, billboards. They are everywhere. They're searching for disgruntled tenants, contractors, or anyone else they can get to bring a lawsuit against you, especially if you aren't protected. You have to understand, for them, you look like an easy payday, especially if you own property in your personal name. That's why one of the things I'll be showing you today is the Royal Protection System, which is how we build a castle of protection around you, brick by brick, from the ground up, that protects you from those pesky plaintiffs' attorneys trying to file frivolous claims. Now, I know what you're thinking. Scott, I shell out good money for insurance every month. Do I really need LLCs if I have coverage? Yes. You do. And here's why. Insurance is a good thing, and you absolutely need to have it. I am very well insured myself. But what you need to understand is that insurance will only cover about 80% of the headaches associated with real estate investing, like burst pipes, fire, vandalism, etc. But that means 20% of the time, those worst case scenarios that your insurance refuses to cover, you're naked, alone, and unprotected. And this is when elite asset protection comes into play. It's your strategy for having ironclad protection so you're 100% covered even when your insurance company decides to jet and bail on you. Now, most people who are new to real estate investing or have somehow managed to be lucky so far just aren't familiar with the pain of lawsuits. Most think you have to do something wrong to be sued. Well, here's the reality check. A survey of the national court data found that over a 20-year period, an investor is 95% likely to be involved in a major lawsuit. The key here is that the risk is over a 20-year period. You don't know when it's going to happen or where it's going to happen. You just know that it's going to happen, that it's out there. What makes it worse is that if you own assets and someone else owns those assets with you as part of a general partnership, and that's in your names directly, the odds of this lawsuit double. And that's because a lawsuit involving either one of you or any asset that you own in your personal name means that everything is exposed. Don't think it can happen to you? Well, neither did one of my friends who had an umbrella policy in place. He was very well insured, but he lost over $3 million in a single lawsuit. Let that sink in a minute. All that time, the money, the effort spent building that portfolio, and poof, it was gone. What my friend didn't realize is that insurance only protects you from one kind of lawsuit called negligence. And legal jargon, that essentially just means an accident. But any allegation of fraud, breach of contract, or a car accident which exceeded the limits of liability of the insurance policy, or one that meets many of the exclusions in the insurance policy, are not covered. Now, there are a lot of people out there who don't need asset protection. Thing is, those people aren't real estate investors. Every real estate investor absolutely needs to have asset protection. With services like DataTree and others, it literally takes less than 60 seconds to identify every property you own in your name or in the LLCs, which we can track from the public records that you own, unless they're anonymous. We regularly perform these searches for our clients to test their privacy and security. In fact, it's the same tool that plaintiffs' attorneys use to find out the extent of your assets so they can know if you're a good candidate to go after. Let me show you guys this quick video to show you how easy it really is. Wow, nothing like technology working against you, huh? By a show of hands here, guys, just if you know that this video is unsettling, it is unsettling for me too, because that's the power of the technology behind this. So I'm with you on that. And so are the 1,500 plus clients of mine from all over the country who were just like you and now enjoy this high level of anonymity so these plaintiffs' attorneys can't find out what they own. Now, I'm sure many of you have explored these topics before, but let me guess. Not only was the subject matter confusing, but you were probably annoyed by all the conflicting information out there. Even then, how are you supposed to know what is that you really need in the sea of recommendations floating out in the universe of the internet? More or less, hiring a professionals who understand both your business and your asset protection seems to be really expensive, assuming that you can find the right person in the first place. And I'm not bragging when I say that you're surprised, and because I was surprised too. And that's why I started Royal Legal Solutions, because at Royal Legal Solutions, we get calls all the time from investors who say they searched for solutions for years before they heard me on a podcast or came across one of the hundreds of articles I publish online every year. And hey, I get it. No one enjoys thinking about this stuff. It's not sexy and particularly fun, not at all. But without question, it's necessary for your success as a real estate investor. After all, we are investors. We're not gamblers. We don't take risks. We manage them to eke out our profits. And as a major investor like Warren Buffett will tell you, the most important thing we can do in our business of investing is not lose money. The good news is, if you're seeking consistent long-term growth for real security and financial freedom, you're in luck. I made this webinar to show you exactly what steps to take, no matter where you live or where you own asset. Asset protection is no longer just for the wealthy. Today, even an average investor who has or seeks to have 2 or more properties has a way to get ironclad protection at a reasonable cost. In fact, I regularly have clients ask us to set up their company structure before they even own any real estate, simply because they plan to acquire properties over the next 3 years, and they want the proper foundation for this growth. This is something I'm very proud of, because before I created the Royal Protection System, asset protection was only available to the very wealthy. But now, using my system, every real estate investor has a streamlined way to achieve maximum protection and anonymity of ownership with only one company to maintain, one bank account, one set of books, and one tax filing. It's never been easier to protect what you're working so hard to build and grow than it is right now with Royal Legal Solutions. Let's take a closer look at the Royal Protection System. The first step in creating elite asset protection is to make yourself and your business an unattractive target. The goal is to make it look like you don't own anything, like you wouldn't even qualify to buy a toaster. When this is done correctly, it stops lawsuits before they even start, since plaintiffs' attorneys will only go after someone they absolutely know they'll get paid by. One way to accomplish this level of anonymity and protection together is using a Wyoming LLC, which has upfront and yearly costs. Another way to accomplish the anonymity is simply using a trust. A trust is a private document, so nobody can find out who owns the trust. You can start protecting yourself with a trust strategy and the anonymity a trust brings for as little as only $500. Depending on which path you choose, it can be as simple as making yourself anonymous, which is a good starting place if that's all you can afford right now. Remember, everything we do builds one block of protection on top of the other, so you'll never have to redo anything ever again. This system will last you for the rest of your life. Okay, guys, that's step 1. The Royal Protection System has 5 steps altogether, and each one builds on the last, kind of like Legos. So here's a fact of a lot of investors don't know. Transferring assets into a trust doesn't just create anonymity. It completely bypasses the due on sale clause. Real quick, how many of you are familiar with the due on sale clause? Okay, for anyone who doesn't know, the due on sale clause is a stipulation in a mortgage or deed of trust requiring borrowers to pay the entire loan balance upon the sale of the property for which a mortgage is being secured. Banks and mortgage lenders use due on sale clauses to prevent buyers from assuming the current mortgage at the original interest rate. Fortunately, transfers to a trust are exempt from the due on sale clause because banks view these transfers as something done for an estate planning purpose. As such, you won't even receive a letter from the bank about the transfer. They'll see the property has been moved, but they won't care. Also, if done correctly, you should be able to avoid property reevaluation assessments, excise taxes, and transfer taxes, since this style of transfer into a land trust qualifies an exemption for estate planning purposes for almost all of those considerations. Now, just for clarification, all we've done up to this point is create anonymity and avoid a bunch of fees and taxes, as well as avoiding the due on sale clause, which is pretty great so far. But I have to tell you that the trust alone does not provide any protection. It only provides anonymity. To protect your assets, we have to pair the trust with a company structure, an LLC, in order to create the complete protection. Now, just think of the Series LLC as a parent type of company structure that you can see here. This is what the Christmas tree of organization that's going on here. So I'm sure all of you are familiar with the LLC, and that's the legal entity that some of you may hold title to your properties in. What we use is that Series LLC that I just mentioned, but it offers all the same protections of the LLC plus some key advantages I'll get into in a minute. Again, the Series LLC is a parent-child type structure, and if you're wondering why we want to combine your land trust with the Series LLC, it's simple. The land trust grants you anonymity from public records. A lawsuit can't get started if the lawyer doesn't know who the property owner is, and the land trust blocks them from linking the property to you. If a lawyer ever did get off the ground, which is highly unlikely, you'd still be protected because your Series LLC would make sure that a lawsuit against you doesn't touch any of the properties in any of your LLCs. The lawsuit against the Series LLC doesn't touch you or any of your other properties. What I love about the Series LLC is it lets you scale your business for free while still providing maximum protection. With all the banking, income, and accounting streamlined through one company, your operations will remain exactly the same, even though your business keeps growing. In this diagram, you can see how we combine the land trust with the Series LLC by making the land trust owned by the Series LLC. By the way, the Series LLC is a structure that's been battle tested in thousands of lawsuits over the past 20 years. Nobody has even tried to challenge the structure. The laws written about the Series LLC are so strong that there's nothing left for a judge to interpret. And here's another advantage many investors are unaware of. You can establish a Series LLC in many, many different states and use it in any state. Plaintiffs' attorneys typically hate this structure because, one, they can't find out that you own the assets or who owns the assets. And even if they did, they're protected such that, even if they sued one property and that's held inside of child Series A here, according to this diagram, they can't get after any of the other properties. So it makes the pot of money they can go after very small. Now, if you can attack the way that attorneys are get paid, they just don't sue because attorneys are in the business of making money. And that's what this structure does. It makes it hard to find the assets. And even if they did sue, they would get very little to nothing. Now, if you did the same type of structure with just traditional LLCs, you'd have a problem because all of your assets would either be lumped into one LLC, if you only did one, which would create a big old pot of gold for that attorney to attack, or you end up establishing one LLC per property, which can cost about $800 a piece plus, $100 to $250 per year per LLC. And those costs add up fast. With the Series LLC, you don't have to worry about any of those costs because it all scales for free. That's why we leverage the Series LLC. Now, we want to compartmentalize every asset so you make it into the smallest pot possible. And that's what we do with the Series LLC. I'm going to show you how you guys can do this for free and scale infinitely without complicating your operations, banking, taxes, insurance, etc. Sound good? Remember, everything we're creating here does not complicate your life in any way whatsoever. Every one of my clients has to do two things. They have to find great deals and collect the money and keep track of it with their accounting. That's it. We take care of everything else. All you do is notify us when you close on a property. We transfer it into the company, maintain all of the yearly records and maintenance for you, and we're on call at no additional charge so you can get every single one of your questions answered by a professional. I built Royal Legal Solutions to be a one-stop shop for real estate investors. If you have any questions at all, we know the answers. Okay, so how do we compartmentalize every asset you're holding so it looks too small for a plaintiff attorney to want to go after? It's easy. Remember how I told you the Series LLC applies a parent-child structure? There's one parent company that's filed with the state using one EIN number. The parent can create an unlimited number of children. We call each one of these a quote-unquote child series. Each child series acts like an individual LLC in every way, providing the same protection as an individual LLC. A lawsuit against one child series won't affect the other children or the parent. In this diagram, you see we've also made the LLC anonymously owned by using an anonymous trust just like the land trust. The anonymous trust and the LLC filing all relate back to Scott Royal Smith, Esquire. Any information about the company or the trust is protected by the attorney-client privilege. Legally, they can't ask for the information and we can't provide it. The trust structure is superior to a Wyoming LLC, which also accomplishes anonymity because the trusts are free to create and have no yearly maintenance like an LLC does. Remember, we're only using the trust for anonymity. The Series LLC provides all of the protection. There are a few more things I need to cover with you today, but first, let me tell you a little more about myself and how Royal Protection System came about. And if you haven't heard of me, my name is Scott Royal Smith. I graduated from Albany Law School and began my career in high-stakes litigation, suing insurance companies for claims that they didn't pay that were legitimate. That's how I learned the key secret I now use to defeat lawsuits, that lawsuits are a business. I stop lawsuits before they even start by taking away the financial incentives required for plaintiffs' attorneys to proceed. But I'm not just a lawyer, I'm an active real estate investor myself. To build ironclad asset protection plans for my clients, I use a combination of legal expertise, my passion as an investor, and my love of helping others and protect their businesses. Clients who employ my strategies tend to stay out of court altogether. I provide niche advice to over 29,000 real estate investors representing most U.S. states with holdings over $4.5 billion. I'm personally invested in over 10 different states at any given time, and everything from single and multifamily properties to notes, commercial real estate, you name it, I do it. I believe the only way to stay at the cutting edge of asset protection is to be an active investor, something a surprising number of my colleagues don't even think to do. I talk to major real estate investors every week on my podcast, Real Estate Nerds. Every single one of them has been put to the legal test, and they're some of the best advocates for asset protection. In fact, they introduce me to their clients every single day. Now, you may be thinking, that's great, Scott, but I'm genuinely an honest person, and I'm one of the good guys, and I really don't expect to be sued. The problem with that way of thinking is that honesty doesn't stop lawsuits. In many, many cases, lawsuits are caused by simple misunderstandings. I'll give you an example. I recently represented a client who had a lawsuit threatened against her for over $75,000 because of a single email exchange regarding the plumbing underneath her house. The difference between what she had said in an email and what the recipient inferred was all it took to end up in court. Think that couldn't happen to you? Well, have you ever been misunderstood? Believe me, it happens. The real question is why don't all real estate investors know about these asset protection strategies? And why isn't every attorney up to speed on this stuff? I can't speak for other attorneys, but I can tell you I'm one of the very few who started out suing insurance companies. That experience armed me with a deep understanding of the business structure, how lawsuits work, and what it takes to stop them before they start. The fact that I've been actively investing in real estate for over 8 years helps a lot too. It's this combined knowledge and firsthand experience that led me to build Royal Legal Solution, and that's why I've developed the Royal Protection System. Now, at this point, I've already given you the playbook to protect yourself, but there are 2 things that you can do and you should do if your goal is to get total protection. The reason I say this is because most people aren't just protecting their wealth for themselves. They want to protect their legacy, their children, their families, their communities, their charitable causes, and the people and the things that they care about most in the world. So in order to be sure your funds and your legacy are protected when you die, you must incorporate an estate plan. I know some of you may already have an estate plan. And if you do have an estate plan, I can almost guarantee that it's out of date or incomplete. That's the bad news. The good news is, whether you have one or not, there's a simple solution for creating an estate plan once and making sure it never goes obsolete. You'll never have to update it or worry about it unless you want to make a change. And here's how it works. You hold all of your assets inside of your Series LLC. Then you have your Series LLC owned by your living trust as part of your estate plan. Bear in mind, every good estate plan has at least 2 parts, the living trust and the pour over will. The living trust dictates who gets what. The pour over will is a simple 1-page will that says anything not put into the living trust, pour it into the living trust and distribute it as stated therein. The living trust makes it so your assets avoid a court proceeding after you die called probate. And probate assets, especially real estate, become vulnerable since nobody has control over the assets for a period of time. This can be problematic if the probate proceeding is contested by anyone. The living trust allows your assets to pass immediately to your heirs so they can start taking care of the properties right away. We use the living trust to own the Series LLC so your estate plan never goes obsolete. Assets will flow in and out of your Series LLC structure throughout throughout your life as you buy and sell. Meanwhile, your living trust holds ownership of the company and it never needs to be updated or changed. Everybody with me so far? One last thing you should plan to conclude is locking down the complete protection by using a shell operating company to transact your business. Folks, if you really want to up your game to the ultimate protection, where you don't even care about lawsuits anymore because you know you're bulletproof, then you need to set up a shell corporation. Let me be clear, there's absolutely nothing shady about shell corporations. Businesses use them all the time to control liability, and now you can use them too. At Royal Legal Solutions, we refer to the use of our shell corporations as an operating company. The operating company is your face to the world. It's the landlord of your properties, the company that sends emails, signs contracts, and otherwise does all of your business dealings. If anything goes wrong, you won't be exposed to a lawsuit. It will fall upon your operating company. Worst case scenario, it will end up winding down the operating company and starting a new one. In terms of your overall protection, the Series LLC with the anonymity in place will protect your assets. The operating company will protect you personally. Now, I need to make something absolutely crystal clear. Everything I've just laid out for you, the entire Royal Protection System, this is proprietary information for asset protection and estate planning. The Royal Protection System is the synergistic form of protection to get yourself and your loved ones protected from lawsuits and judgments, and so that nothing can derail your life, since you've worked so hard as a real estate investor to build it up. Simple misunderstandings can turn ugly and can turn into costly court battles if you're not protected. You're not going to find this type of protection anywhere else because it simply doesn't exist with this type of deep knowledge between how lawsuits work, my experience with litigation, as well as my longtime experience actually being an investor to know what really works. The whole reason I created this system is because as a real estate investor, I was incredibly frustrated by the fact that there was no comprehensive system available for me to rely upon, something that would cover all of my asset protection and estate planning needs without costing a fortune. The reason I'm so proud of the Royal Protection System is because it's been tested and proven to make real estate investors invincible, or as invincible as you possibly can be when it comes to defeating lawsuits. Remember, with the Series LLC and trust, all of your assets remain protected and hidden. If you're ever threatened with a lawsuit, hopefully your insurance company will pick up the tab. But if they don't, the lawyers will likely never sue you because, at least on paper, it looks like you're not worth the trouble. As far as they know, you're someone who could buy a toaster. And even if they did, they'd get almost nothing, at most just a single asset. Plus, with the shell operating company in place, you stay protected personally along with your assets staying protected. And finally, by incorporating the living trust and pour over will in your estate plan, you know that you and your assets are fully protected during your lifetime and after you die. Your wealth lives on with your legacy. And that's why I built this Royal Protection System. It's just for real estate investors. No one else has this. And I don't know of any other asset protection attorney that has the infrastructure in place to support such a system, even if they decided to want to go out tomorrow and build it. Let me just give you a quick real world example of the Royal Protection System in action. One of my clients was selling a multi-unit. The buyer asked, what plumbing underneath the house has been replaced? My client and her real estate agent responded by email that all of the plumbing had been replaced, referring to the plumbing underneath the house. Well, fast forward 6 months after the sale, and while the buyer was on a month-long vacation, a leak sprung in his bathroom wall on the second floor. The water ran and ran. It completely flooded the house, resulting in over $75,000 in damages. When the buyer returned, who do you think he blamed? My client, of course. As far as the buyer was concerned, my client had represented that all of the plumbing in the house was replaced, and that included the plumbing in the upstairs bathroom wall. The buyer claimed my client had committed fraud, something which is never covered by insurance. Now, this was a simple misunderstanding based on an email, but do you see how quickly and easy it is for an allegation of fraud to spring up? In the eyes of the law, that's what fraud is. The seller said all the plumbing had been replaced, and even though she was specifically referring to the plumbing underneath the house, it was unclear. If this case went to court, my client's fate would just be in the hands of a jury. That's something you never want to happen. Fortunately, my client, she was protected by the anonymous Series LLC structure that I put in place for her. When the buyer's attorney called me and I explained the level of protection he'd be fighting against, two things happened. First, there was a long pause on the other end of the line, and then he suddenly became a lot friendlier. I love it when that happens. Long story short, even though my client was willing to settle, I encouraged her not to. Lawsuits, after all, are a business. And from my experience in litigation, I knew the opposing counsel wouldn't sue my client. They had a very small chance of winning, and it would cost them a fortune. 2 weeks later, I got a letter saying they were dropping the suit. And that's how a lawsuit gets defeated before it even gets off the ground. So what do you think? Was my client thankful she took action to protect herself? Hell yeah, she was thrilled. Now, when you hear stories like this, and there are many others I could share, you have to ask yourself, if such a terrific system exists, why haven't I heard of it before? For starters, even though the Series LLC has existed for 20 years, that's considered cutting edge in the legal world, especially since it's really only useful for investors with one or more property. It's a relatively small niche to say the least, so there are only a handful of experts like myself in the entire country. Another thing you have to keep in mind is this is the kind of a dirty little secret, so to speak, of the legal profession, is that most attorneys are not inclined to have to learn completely new systems and figure out things from scratch and the ground up, especially as it relates to very particular business practices like real estate investing. What they like to do is just build a ton of billable hours, just do the easiest and simplest thing they can do and crank it out the door to you, and then just let you go figure it out. That's not what we do at all. We have the best systems in place, and we provide all of the support to make sure that you know how to use what we put together for you at your direction. And we're always on call for you to partner with you to make sure that you're doing everything correctly as you proceed forward with your real estate investors. And that's how we at Royal Legal Solutions distinguish ourselves from the pack. So unless you've met someone who've worked with a very specific method of asset protection that I use, you've never had the pleasure about learning about it. Remember, you don't need to be Warren Buffett to keep your hard-earned wealth safe from predatory lawyers looking for easy money. You don't need to own 100 properties before putting a mechanism in place to protect them. The Series LLC top-level asset protection is affordable to the average investor with 2 or more properties. Now, obviously, we're here today because wealth protection is something top of mind for both of us. You're here because you know it's in your interest to mitigate risk, to put the law on your side, and to protect everything you're working to build, so it can grow in a meaningful legacy many years in the future. With that in mind, let me tell you more about how the Royal Protection System works. Depending on your situation, because this is not a cookie cutter system, a one-size-fits-all solution, we start by using that Series LLC in a combination of land trusts to provide protection and anonymity. These are infinitely expandable, and you can use them anywhere in the United States at no additional cost. Compare that to the high upfront and yearly costs associated with producing multiple LLCs, and you'll see instantly how it saves you money right out of the gate. Then, again, depending on the level of protection you're looking for, we use the estate planning the shell corporations to make it so you're virtually bulletproof to lawsuits and judgments. Think about that for a minute. What if you never had to worry about a lawsuit? What if the next time some deranged tenant called you up screeching about damages, you could just end the call? What if that email you fired off in haste because you were scrambling to do 3 things at once didn't keep you up at night? How much value can you attach to peace of mind? Would you sleep better at night? Would you think more clearly, more productively when you're working? Would it free you up to do more deals and grow your wealth? How would it affect you personally? Would you lose your temper less often? Would it lower your blood pressure? Would you actually just take more pleasure out of life? I know I do. Recently, I just climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and it was amazing a trip. And best of all, I didn't stress about being away from the office at all. I knew my staff could take care of my legal practice. And then just as important, I knew if anything were to come up with my real estate investments, I was fully protected. I was covered. With the Royal Protection System, you're getting the best asset protection available, and it's created specifically for real estate investors. Remember, as a real estate investor, you're 95% guaranteed to be involved in a major lawsuit during your lifetime. It's not if you're going to be sued, it's when and what position you're going to be in when it happens. I'm going to cover pricing in just a minute, but first, let me spell out exactly what you're going to get. Again, it's called the Royal Protection System. By taking this first step today, you'll be fully protected in just a few weeks from now. You're going to get the top level asset protection that's ironclad. What you get above and beyond these legal structures is the peace of mind that comes from knowing this very important task is done once and for all. You can check it off your list and forget about it. You're covered. Everything in your life will continue to operate just as it does now. You'll have one bank account, one tax ID number for your company. All of your existing insurance can very likely remain in place exactly how it is now. There's no messing around trying to figure it out yourself or working with a local attorney who isn't a real estate investor and, in all likelihood, isn't up to speed on the latest trends and issues that are threatening your wealth. You can rest easy knowing your protection strategy is being professionally managed by a leading expert who eats, sleeps, and breathes asset protection. Investors who work with me don't lose, mostly because they very rarely end up in court. They have a battle-tested system that works, and they have me fighting on their behalf on those rare occasions when it's necessary. The beauty of the Royal Protection System is we make it so difficult for people to sue you that it just doesn't happen. From now on, plaintiff attorneys will view the prospect of suing you as a total pain in the ass. And that's what you want as a real estate investor. By the way, I've worked with over thousands of clients in the recent years, and the few who end up in court, how many do you think lost? What do you think would be a reasonable number for a win-loss ratio for me? How about zero? Not a zip. That's right. Not a single one of my clients who went to court has lost a lawsuit. And that's how powerful the Royal Protection System is. Believe me, you don't want to miss out on this. And as an added bonus, just for attending this webinar, I'm extending a special discount for being on this call for everybody who reaches out for me today to schedule a call. And you don't have to decide what level of protection you want right now. You just need to lock in your special discount today. Just hit the link I'm about to share to get started. And during your scheduled consultation, you'll speak with a member of my team so you can get an understanding of your specific situation, answer any of the questions you may have, and get the ball rolling. Now, let me just quickly put all of the value that I'm about to give you into perspective. This way you can see what a truly phenomenal opportunity that you have right in front of you right now. So ordinarily, my fee structure breaks down like this. Operating company, $19.50. Asset holding company, $39.50. Anonymous trust, $500. Two property transfers for $600 at $300 each. The estate planning, $2,500. And our family office, which is the all-inclusive support packages that allows us to maintain all of your entities as well as provide you unlimited ongoing support by phone or email for any questions you have. It's $294 for 6 months. That would give you a total of $9,794. However, with today's exclusive offer, you'll only pay $14.50 for the operating company, which will save you $500. The asset holding company, not $39.50. We're discounting that to $29.50. We're going to save you $1,000 on that. You'll buy the anonymous trust for $500. If you buy a property transfer and you'll get one free, that's going to save you $300. You have estate planning in place. Normally, that's the $2,500. We're discounting that down to $1,000. We're going to save you $1,500. And the family office, we're going to give you 6 months absolutely free, and that's a $294 value. That means the total, guys, is $5,900, and that your total savings simply for scheduling your call today is $3,894. And guys, you don't have to buy all of this all at once. You can pick on this level of protection, but these are all the discounts that we're just laying out on the table. When you go through your consultation, you're going to be able to find exactly what it is that's going to make sense for you and take care of all of the savings that are going to be in line with your investment strategies. So for the quality protection and the level of service you're receiving here, there's just no way to beat this offer. It's the perfect asset protection system for real estate investors. And as I said earlier, the Royal Protection System and Royal Legal Solutions provides itself on delivering the absolute best client experience available. It's a huge commitment on my part. So go ahead and click the link. By scheduling your $150 consultation call with me today, you're locking in the savings I mentioned and securing your place on the path to financial freedom. There's no risk whatsoever to you because your satisfaction is guaranteed 100%. Speaking of which, a few weeks back, I met an investor who set up his business structure through a local attorney. And do you know what he said? He said they were better at taking his money than answering his questions. When I tell people that, a lot of them laugh. But when I hear things like this, it really makes me angry in a sense because there's just really no excuse for it. Lawyers like that tarnish the entire profession. And here's my promise to you. At Royal Legal Solutions, every single client receives unlimited ongoing phone and email support. Any questions you have will be answered at no additional charge. You won't be billed by us to get the information you need. Anything that relates to your real estate investing, your company, banking, insurance, etc., it's all free. Folks, if you still haven't booked your phone consultation to learn how your specific investing plan can benefit from this game-changing asset protection deal, one you will not see anywhere else, let me put your mind completely at ease and make this decision ridiculously easy for you. At Royal Legal Solutions, we provide a 100% refund guarantee right up to the time that we give you the final delivery of all your paperwork. Have you heard of any other attorney offering a guarantee like this? Of course not. Like I said, the Royal Protection System is completely unique. What this 100% refund guarantee means is if we don't answer all of your questions, or if you feel like something doesn't match what we agreed to on the phone, which we're happy to confirm by email in any way you like, you can request a full refund. No questions asked. There's absolutely no risk to you for making this call. The only risk is what could happen if you don't take the next steps necessary to protect your wealth and your legacy. So I'm urging you to take that action right now while we still have a few open slots left, because they're absolutely going to fill up. It does every single time we do one of these webinars. So protecting your assets is necessary to safeguarding your future. And I'd hate to see you lose on these outstanding discounts. So click the link in your screen right now and schedule your call. And believe me, folks, I'm not in the business of cheating anyone out of their money. If your experience as a client at Royal Legal Solutions is paramount, I'm assuming all of the risks by offering deep discounts to my usual fees and backing them up with a 100% refund guarantee. As a thank you for attending today's webinar, I'd like to give you a copy of my special report, Top 10 Ways to Protect Your Assets. Just text Royal to 474747 to claim your copy. To schedule a $150 consultation where you get the absolutely explicit roadmap for what asset protection you will need now and in the future by one of the trained representatives that I have personally trained, just go to royallegalsolutions.com/SLLC1. And that's pretty much it. If we have any questions, guys, feel free to always drop them into the chat box, or you can always go through the royallegalsolutions.com website and be able to enter into our contact us page or our chat option that we have there on the website. Again, visit the royallegalsolutions.com/SLLC1 to schedule your consultation today, and that'll get you locked in with those special discounts we talked about. Remember to text ROYAL, that's Royal, to 474747, and that's for the special report on the top 10 asset protection strategies that you need to know about as a real estate investor. And I just want to say thank you guys for joining me here today, and keep those questions rolling into us. We have a huge amount of material to be able to share with you guys on this webinar as well as other webinars and through our website. And if for any reason your question doesn't get answered today from inside of the webinar chat, just always head over to the website and hit us up on the contact us form or on the chat bot that's there that will be able to link directly with our staff. Thank you guys so much. We'll have an account representative for you guys to take your calls in right away and get you guys set up. Have a great day, guys. Take care.